Hi, I'm Barry Ostrowski. At Barnabas Health, we believe citizens need to be informed about the important healthcare issues affecting their lives. That's why we're proud to support healthcare programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners on public television.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Oscar Health Insurance, Barnabas Health, Life is Better Healthy, Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. NJM, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and more, with a focus on safety and financial stability. Cohn Resnick, accounting, tax, and advisory, where forward thinking creates results. The Fidelco Group. And by the Russell Berry Foundation. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. It is my pleasure to introduce for the first time together Elaine Katz, who is Senior Vice President of Grants and Communications, Kessler Foundation, and Dr. John Deluca, Senior Vice President for Research at Kessler Foundation. Elaine, I don't want to assume that everyone knows what the foundation is and why its work is so important. Tell us.
Well, the Kessler Foundation changes lives through rehabilitation research and funding employment programs for people with disabilities. What makes us really unique is one of the few foundations that focuses on research as well as grant making.
How many people are we really talking about that are dealing with the kinds of challenges that Elaine describes?
Well, you know, people who are disabled are the biggest minority group in the country. You're talking about 56 million people who have some form of a disability.
What kind are we talking about?
Well, any disability, really. The kind of disabilities that we work with at the Kessler Foundation are primarily neurologic conditions such as multiple sclerosis, traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, and stroke. And so that's who we deal with in particular. But the disabled is a huge population.
Elaine, the foundation created from what and why?
The foundation was created through the sale of Kessler Institute about 10 years ago. And it was really established to continue research in the area of disability. And at the same time, we started looking at how we can give back to the community and began our grant-making program. And through the years, we've expanded the grant-making both from New Jersey to a national focus.
And in fact, the Caucus Educational Corporation is a recipient of the foundation's, one of the grants to further education in this area. Doctor, let's talk about some of the research that is most relevant to the community watching us right now on public television and files. Talk about it. Give us an example of some of the research that is really relevant and people should know about.
Well, a lot of the research that we're doing is helping people get their function back. Because imagine you have a problem, you have to go to the hospital, and you need to get your function back, your memory, your mobility, your cognitive abilities. And a lot of the research that we do is what are the best interventions that we can look at and show that has an effectiveness. And so those populations, sometimes in the past, people have just come up with what we think is the best thing to do.
What we think is best.
Right.
So what does the research look like?
Well, the research is showing, for example, that, you have a spinal cord injury. And the idea is to try to get you back to walk, but if you really aren't able to walk, so what's your rehabilitation going to be? What we've been doing most recently is work in the area of robotics, where we can get actually individuals out of the wheelchair. Imagine that, Steve, for the first time in 15 years to get up and out of the wheelchair. But it's not just getting out of the wheelchair. The rehab research part of it is what else does mobility do? So for example, we're showing that it increases bone density, increases muscle mass, cardiovascular health. And just the psychological aspects of getting out of the chair and speaking to somebody eye to eye has been incredibly important for that. And I think that that's an example of how we look at not just mobility, but what's the research behind it, and how is that going to help people in a variety of areas of function.
And Elaine, one of the areas that we've talked about a lot that follows up with what John's talking about is the potential for employment. Talk about that.
Well, employment is very important. I mean, it gives you self-esteem. It's actually the first question somebody asks you after your name, what do you do? And for Kessler Foundation, looking at employment is our focus of our grant making. So we have programs both in New Jersey. We're working with organizations, a community arts organization, Matheny, as well as Arts Unbound. And they're actually doing a whole new project where you can buy shares in somebody's art, similar to what they did in farming years ago. Where before the art is created, you buy a share, the income provides the artist, and then you can meet the artist. And it provides a way of livelihood for a person with disability, as well as providing art, beautiful art for the home. Nationally, we've worked with companies such as PepsiCo. We have a program called Achieving Act Together that's now in 5 states. And what that is, the Collective Impact Program. So we have 4 different funders that are together, working together with Pepsi to create jobs, and Pepsi hopes within 5 years actually to create 2,000 jobs nationally. So as you can imagine, Steve, creating a job for a person continues their independence. It allows them to live within the community and also helps them become self-sufficient.
How much progress are we making with societal attitudes towards those with disabilities and their potential to work and be productive in the way Elaine was just describing?
Well, that's really an important question, because we have the best rehabilitation in the world. When you're trying to go to the hospital, you're in the hospital, we can treat all these functional problems, such as mobility and cognition. But what happens when you leave the hospital? That system, you are now out of the system of care and into the system of society. So one of the nice things about the Kessler Foundation is, with our focus on employment and our research on improving health, we have a grant that we just received.
But it's a grant to do what?
It's a grant
Nielsen.
to Nielsen Foundation.
Nielsen Foundation.
Nielsen Foundation.
Right. It's a grant to
The head
actually
of grants would know exactly where the grant came from. Go ahead.
No, the is to get people with spinal cord injury while they're inpatient to start thinking about employment and getting help with their employment after they leave the hospital. And not only are we going to help them thinking about their employment possibilities, but follow them for like 2 years and establish a system by where they can utilize the systems that already exist in the state.
Well, how would that make a difference? Give us a concrete example of where that would make a difference. Jump in here, Elaine.
Well, it would make a difference if you know, for example, right now when a person is injured, they don't think about employment right away. They think about getting better. But if the end goal is employment, then you really have a goal, actually a personal goal. You need to, get together with your rehab and to use either robotics or other mechanisms to get working. And the reason you're really improving yourself is to get back into the workplace. So right now your thought is just on getting well, not what happens after you get well.
And the foundation is thinking about the next steps.
And we're thinking about the next steps.
Real quick, before I let you out of here, some of the other areas that you're into, the foundation's making a difference. Pediatrics, real quick.
Pediatrics, we have a new relationship with Children's Specialized Hospital, and we're working with the Department of Education in New Jersey, looking at what happens after a young child sustains an injury, what happens to their education before and after, and what kind of a difference does that injury make after following a hospitalization.
And real quick, some of the other areas you were telling me right before we get on the air.
Well, we have our, we do a national NTIDE, and which looks at, it's a monthly report based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics job report. So for example, last month in October, we found 30% of people with disabilities were working compared to 76% who are not working, which is a considerable difference. And we have lots of different programs that we're doing to make a difference. The latest one we're doing is a pilot program in Uber in Pittsburgh, looking at how Uber, which is always in the news, can be accessible for people with disabilities. There's lots of nonprofits that have wheelchair accessible vans that are not being used during the day, and perhaps there's a way of making them available to the community at large. And Uber has talked to us and our grantee Community Options, which is based in New Jersey and nationally, about creating a special app that's accessible, as well as trying to figure out a way to help people get to the doctor's appointments, get to employment, and continue life within the community.
And finally, Doctor, important research continues to go on that makes a difference, correct?
Absolutely. We're going to get people back, get their function back, we get them back into the community, we're going to get them off social supports, and we're going to be able to get them to get employed, be part of being part of their family and part of society again. And we can do that.
You are doing that at Kessler Foundation. Dr. John Deluca and Elaine Katz from Kessler Foundation, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve.
Important work goes on every day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're joined by Mimi Feliciano, founder and CEO of FEM Real Estate. Also, the new Feliciano School of Business at Montclair State University. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
By the way, you're fascinated and you love business because?
Well, I guess I'm just so used to it. I started at a young age with my dad, my mom, and it's just been...
Tell us about that, by the way. Were they in business?
Yeah, they started the business. I was a kid, and they were true entrepreneurs. And so I started young. I felt like I was, hands on a farm where we all had to work. They put us to work at weekends, after school and summers. So it was just part of the family.
In business? Just learning every aspect of business?
Well, I was the assistant. They gave me a title, assistant to the president. So I felt so special. I was like 15. And I basically used to just, originally just dial numbers for my father, phone people, people that he wanted to speak with on the phone. Then I learned how to do bookkeeping. I used to write checks. And, and I actually learned accounting. In the little college that I had, I took accounting courses and went further with that. Actually, at Montclair.
At Montclair. So
I took one course at Montclair.
Talk about the connection with Montclair State University, my alma mater, the School of Business, the Feliciano School of Business, named after...
My husband and I, yes.
Made a significant gift to the university. Because?
Well, we started with the Center for Entrepreneurship. That's really where it started. And we made a commitment there because I was invited to go to the business advisory group.
By Dr. Susan Cole, the president up there?
Well, actually, she didn't actually. I was invited through one of her associates.
Yes.
And I went, and I got to know the dean. He was a new dean. And
Dean Kant?
No, right before Dean Kant.
Oh, before him,
Yes,
okay.
yes. This is when I started a few years back, because he just started.
Got it.
Dean Kant, yeah. So I was invited, and I got to know him a little bit. And he had he handed me a paper one day, a white paper, and he said, "Read this when you have a chance. Just put it on the side." So I went home that night, and I read it, and it was a vision for where business, education, academia, and public policy would come together to actually transform lives. Now, this was such an exciting thing to me because I didn't finish college. I was working, and I, spent so many years, involved in just the real world, and I really wanted it to be more experiential for students, and I thought it was such an exciting concept for me. I jumped out of the chair that night as I was reading it and ran across the room calling my husband, Eddie, we have to do this. This country, we need this in our area, and it inspired me. And so I decided we're going to do this. And
make an investment.
We were going to make an investment because I really felt that it needed to be done. Somebody had to do it. And I believed somebody was going to do it, and I wanted to be the one to do it.
So it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And the other part of this, and you and I were talking right before we got on the air, women as entrepreneurs. You have an entire week, there's an entire week, I believe in October, in which women and entrepreneurism comes together. Yeah. And there's a whole series of discussions that go on. I believe in 2016, some folks from Canada are going to be involved as well, so it's an international piece as well. What is the goal of that whole initiative?
It's to let women know, whether they're on campus, the female students, or if they're in the real world, to let them know we want to be a resource and we want to be a place where they could go to get support, because it's really hard. And
being a woman entrepreneur?
It's really, it is hard being a woman entrepreneur. Because
harder, you think, than a guy who's an entrepreneur? You do.
You know what it is? I think that women are overlooked. I think that they are, in many ways, they work hard And they're just not recognized in many ways. And they don't believe in themselves enough. That's another problem. They just really don't put themselves out there.
Really?
No, I think so. That's why that's why most of the students, there's more female students that go to college, more get degrees, and yet, so they're outperforming in many ways, and yet when they get to the business world, there's less than 10% of them in leadership. They were leaders early. They just don't have enough support. They don't believe in themselves enough to put themselves out there, I think.
And you want to say what to them?
So we want to say that you can do it. You need to believe in yourself. And we believe in you. And that's the point. That's something that resonated with me. Because I didn't have enough confidence either when I started out in business. And my parents believed in me, unequivocally. And they really thought that, I had something, I don't know if they needed me, but I was able to really perform for them. And I never wanted to disappoint them. So I would always achieve knowing they believed in me. I just didn't want to, I didn't want to fail. And that's the confidence that I got from them.
And that's what this Entrepreneur Week...
That's what we want to give to them.
But maybe if I can say this,
Yeah.
the other thing I found out about the program is that it isn't just business majors who participate that week, but any major, any student with any major can participate in this Entrepreneur Week.
And not
Why
only,
is that, by the way?
Well, because, it's not just business. You could be entrepreneurial and you need to be innovative. That's what the country needs to reinvent so many areas of our industry. Whether you have to reinvent yourself for charity, to be more efficient, to find ways to get money, whether you're doing it for science, you could be entrepreneurial. And
Education.
Education, and even, students that are dancers, the arts, they might want to open a studio and they could learn how to become entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Or entrepreneurs in large corporations if they prefer that route.
The other piece that was fascinating to me, go back to the business school, is it the 3D piece?
Oh.
What is that about?
So exciting.
What is it?
Well, there's 3Ds are, 3D printers. Most colleges have 1 or 2 3D printers,
Right.
of course, and even in high schools. But what we want to create is a place where you could learn about the technology and leverage it for innovative, creative ideas to solve real problems. And we have ours hooked up to a cloud. So it's not meant just to be a printer in a room. It's meant to teach people in mass and let them then, connect to our cloud and actually print things, whether they're in a different town locally or maybe in a different country.
Did you have a hand in thinking of this?
Well, I definitely, I'm going to give Dennis credit. He got the connection.
Dennis Bone.
Dennis Bone.
Oh,
He got the
great friend of
3D.
Dennis Bone, who used to be at Verizon, and now he's up at Montclair State University at the Feliciano School.
He's our founding director. So he actually got the printers. But creativity and innovation has definitely been our focus. Women and innovation from the beginning.
You love what you do.
I do.
It's a whole new part of your career, isn't it?
It is. And I love
You're
that.
innovating yourself constantly.
Reinventing, right?
Well, it's great. Listen, Mimi, thank you for joining us, and appreciate you joining the public television family and sharing this story and your gift to one of the great universities in the state.
I was happy to
Thank
do
you.
it. Thank you for inviting me.
Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're joined by Dr. Thomas Bernik, Chief of Vascular Surgery at Englewood Hospital Medical Center. Good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Vascular surgery, describe it. What is it?
So vascular surgery is the treatment of blood vessels in the body, with the exception of the heart and the brain.
You started practicing in 2002. How much has vascular surgery changed in that time?
Tremendously. When we first started practice, most of the surgeries that we did were open surgeries, large surgeries that required pretty lengthy hospital stays. And with the advent of minimally invasive surgery now, that has changed dramatically.
Define minimally invasive.
So minimally invasive is a term that allows a surgeon to intervene with usually smaller incisions. It applies to general surgery, it applies to vascular surgery, and from our standpoint, most of it is now catheter-based rather than making large incisions in different areas of the body and fixing whatever the pathology may be.
Biggest advantage of minimally invasive?
Probably aneurysmal repair.
What does that mean?
So aneurysm is a weakening in a blood vessel in the body. You may have heard of abdominal aneurysms.
Yes.
And these aneurysms classically were treated with a large either thoracotomy, opening the chest, or opening the belly through a laparotomy. And typically large surgery, about 5% mortality. With about a week to 10 days stay. Now we can do it through the groins, sometimes just with catheters, without making any incisions, and hospital stay of maybe 1 day.
This whole area of vascular medicine is fascinating to me. There's a whole family history. My dad is rewired in certain ways. I shouldn't say rewired, but I've learned a lot through that. And I was getting an MRI of one part of my body, and they said, you got to look at this vascular issue here. And I said, what is it? And they said, well, and they started talking about the fact that, they used that word, an aneurysm. Mm-hmm. They said, this is what it should look like, and this is what it does look like, and you need to get that checked out. And I didn't even know what they were talking about. I said, well, is it a problem? And the answer was, we don't know, but you need to monitor it. What does that mean?
So there's a genetic predisposition. First-degree relatives, particularly on the male side, have an increased incidence of aneurysms. And
an aneurysm is?
So it's a weakening of a blood vessel. It can be anywhere in the body, but most commonly it's in the aorta, which is the large blood vessel that goes from the heart to the legs. But you can have aneurysms in the legs, you can have them anywhere in the body. Once found, the aneurysm should be followed because it usually over time increases in size and it reaches a fairly critical point, which is now about 5.5 centimeters or 2 times the normal aorta size. At that point in time, one would consider intervening.
But you have to be aware of this. You have to stay on top of it, and people shouldn't ignore that.
Correct. And what we do is when we find somebody with an aneurysm, typically it's small. You can safely follow it without any real worry. We follow patients either at 6 months or a year with ultrasonography. It's not invasive.
What is it? Tell everyone what that means. Is that outside?
So an ultrasound is the same thing that one would use during pregnancy.
Sure.
It's non-invasive, it's not harmful, there's no radiation, and the patient can just come in for a physical exam and an ultrasound exam that takes 15 minutes.
What have you brought in with you?
So I brought in what's called a stent graft.
To make sure everyone can see this. Go ahead.
So a stent graft is a tube of nitinol, which is compressible.
What is nitinol? Hold on.
So nitinol is a metal that can be compressed.
That's metal?
This is metal, this is a Gore-Tex shell surrounded by metal.
Got this, Bob?
That is compressed into a size about a pencil. And once compressed, that can be put in through the artery, through the groin, and exclude the aneurysm in its entirety.
Explain that.
So we can access the arteries through the groins and go inside the actual artery and the aneurysm, and the stent graft goes within the artery and it isolates the aneurysm from blood flow. So now, rather than the blood flow go into the aneurysm sac, which is a ball, it goes through the stent graft.
Are you amazed by what you've seen since 2002 in the field?
I'm amazed at the technology changes. I really am. And this just doesn't apply to aneurysm surgery. It applies to carotid surgery. It applies to peripheral vascular disease, which is one of the more common treatments currently. It's quite prevalent in the United States with diabetes and people living longer. And most of this is done now with an overnight stay.
So bottom line here is that there's no reason for people to ignore, and there's no reason for people to experience a terrible outcome because they're not aware.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's aneurysmal disease, if it's caught early, you can treat it appropriately and timely. If it's not caught early and you develop symptoms, that has a very high mortality rate.
It does. Because?
Well, because once the aneurysm ruptures, you get bleeding internally, and that becomes an emergency. So as long as it's followed on a regular basis and one doesn't have symptoms, then one shouldn't worry.
But finally, vascular surgery has come a very long way.
It has come from, like I said, open surgery, which was somewhat debilitating. We still have to do it occasionally, but most often, I would say 90+% of interventions now across the board are done with minimally invasive techniques.
Well, I'll tell you, Doctor, it never ceases to amaze me the advances that are happening in medicine and research. Dr. Thomas Bernik, Chief of Vascular Surgery, Englewood Hospital and Medical Center. I want to thank you for joining us and talking to us about vascular surgery.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Oscar Health Insurance, Barnabas Health, Choose New Jersey, NJM, Cone Resnick, the Fidelco Group, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Hello, I'm Mario Schlosser, CEO of Oscar Health. The Affordable Care Act was passed to increase the quality and the affordability of health insurance. All Americans now have access to health insurance regardless of income and must by law have proof of coverage or incur a tax penalty. So please be sure to sign up during this year's open enrollments. Visit www.healthcare.gov and find a plan that's working just right for you.